What's going on, casters? Dylan from Pandito Gaming here, and today I want to start off my video with a sincere apology. There are times where the content that I generate, whether it is my videos or whether it is messages that I send over text and Discord or other formats, where I don't come across the way that I want to. I try to make sure that I include disclaimers and put in caveats, explain why I'm saying things when I have the opportunity to, and sometimes that just doesn't come across correctly. It doesn't come across well. I am not generally trying to make other people upset. I am looking to spread information, to give awareness to things. It's part of my drive to want to become a teacher at some point, which I'm sure my students will get frustrated by someday, where I like to make sure people have the information that they need to make informed decisions. And there are a lot of times where that comes off as preachy or know-it-all. Oftentimes people will take me telling them something as me trying to insult them for not knowing things. When that does happen, I want you to know that's not intentional. If I ever come across in a way that makes you feel bad, don't feel like you can't say anything to me. I promise I will apologize. I will try to adjust and improve myself. I know as somebody who's more of an engineering background, I'm generally just ignoring the engineering side. I'm just awkward talking around people sometimes. But it is important to me to have those kinds of crucial conversations. I've gone through training, over the last 10 years through my job to try to help get better at that. But I think everybody, no matter who they are, can better themselves and be better at communicating and working with other people in general. I've made it very clear through some of my other videos, I'm not in Elestrals to make money or cheat money from people. I am very passionate about Elestrals. I think it was a turning point in my life, both mentally and also it drove me into something that is helping me be financially more secure through Pokemon investing. And I do think you can make money in Elestrals, but that is not the reason I'm here. I am here because I enjoy the people in the community. I want to see the game succeed, and I will go out of my way to do things as long as it's not costing me tons of time and money to go and do that. So I spend, 5 to 10 hours a week. Recently, earlier it was probably closer to 1 or 2 hours, but in the last like 4 or 5 months, I've been spending a lot more time in Elestrals. I spend that time to try to help get cards into the hands of people who need them, to help inform people around the rarities and scarcities of cards, to try to help drive prices to be valuable for collectors, to help people who are playing the games and just pull cards they don't know anything about to understand the values of those, and to help generally inform the people who are resellers in the space to help them get better at actually being able to take care of themselves with this kind of stuff. It is a lot of work maintaining a flow of cards, selling cards, and a lot of people in the space. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to make this to begin with is that I saw so many people were probably losing money trying to sell Elestrals. There are many game stores that are very strong and very good stores that sell many products who've decided we don't want any part of Elestrals because it can't make us money. And if we don't have the collector reseller side of things in a good state within Elestrals, then the player base is also going to suffer. You may or may not agree with me on that, but hopefully, at least at this point, anybody who's watched my content understands what I am doing, I think is good for the game of Elestrals. It is to help improve the community. And if you ever see me, you think like, hey, I think something that you did is hurting other people, please feel free to let me know. I personally value transparency a lot. And if somebody tells me, hey, I think you hurt somebody's feelings, or I think you did something that was bad for other people, please just let me know. I will take that feedback and I will act on it. So I don't want any of the later parts of this video to diminish what I mean in the beginning. To be fair, I don't think a lot of people who would benefit from hearing that are probably going to even watch my content. Some people have even said as much, but it's something for me that I wanted to get off my chest to make sure that people understand. And for those of you guys out there who are in the community, who can see me do something and say, hey, Dylan, I got some feedback for you, I would love that. I would love feedback. Hopefully we can get some of that flowing more throughout the community. So the next thing I want to talk about are things that I'm not sorry for. There are several things that I have had either long drawn out discussions or arguments. I've had people mention things to me about opinions they've formed about me because of things that I've done in different channels across Discord. The biggest reason why I'm making this today, I had an argument, which for you guys it'll be like a week in the future, where somebody saw one of my messages and said, "Hey, I think you're trying to manipulate the market. What you're doing is actively negative. You must be a bad person." And I responded and gave evidence and reasons and facts, which I will share with you soon, with actual visuals for those to prove beyond a doubt what I did was not negatively driven. And that person just shrugged and said they didn't care. And it frustrated me enough to want to make a video. I don't expect this to change that person's mind or any of the people who I mentioned who have had conversations with like this. I don't think they watch my content, so I'm not looking to get that forgiveness, but hopefully showing some visibility into this, explaining some of my sides and thoughts. If nothing else, it'll help me feel better, and hopefully it helps other people who are running into similar situations where there is some toxicity from the player base, where anyone who talks about money is given a negative moniker, a bad slight against them, where anything you say, those people will assume are lies or trying to hurt other people. And I don't think that's necessarily fair. So the things that I'm not sorry for, most of the conversations that I've had recently that have turned into arguments or, have had some negative feel around people, have generated from people saying things that I felt like was direct misinformation. When you say something that is just provably false, I know this is a personal weakness of my own. I struggle with those situations. When somebody says something and they say, "I think this is true because I feel like it. My personal anecdote backs up this concept," but there is mathematical or legitimate statistical evidence that proves beyond a doubt that what they say is not accurate. And when you show that to that person and they say, "Well, that doesn't meet what I think, so I don't care," I have a very hard time with how I react to that. I'm not sorry for reacting that way because I think it negatively hurts the people around that person, and bringing that to light for them, it may not do anything. I understand that. But I'm probably not going to change in that aspect. I understand that some people might disagree with my stance on that. I just personally have a hard time with it. So I think that properly lays out the things that I feel bad about and things that I want to make sure people understand. Why I think I had these conversations and arguments with people, and I'll give more details on those soon. But why I'm not sorry for parts of those. I don't want people to feel bad about those encounters and those situations. I don't want them to feel worse about themselves. I'm not trying to explain why you're wrong and why you should feel bad about it. I'm more saying what you're saying is going to hurt other people, and accepting that your feelings don't necessarily match facts, and not spreading that around to people as if it is a fact, which could hurt other people's opinion of Elestrals or other people or things, that you don't gain a benefit from doing that. So I'll get into the actual content. So let's start with the things that happened before today. There were two specific incidences, which, if you're in the same channels that I'm in, you've probably seen. I think there's probably been 3 or 4 different discussions that maybe this came from some videos that maybe people didn't comment on but felt pretty bad about. I'm not sure. But 2 of the situations I'll walk through and explain. So I believe this was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. There was a conversation going on. I was explaining my reason for making the channel to begin with, and I was seeking to get feedback from people. And somebody chimed in and said some legitimate, reasonable advice. Like, hey, make sure you're giving disclaimers. Make sure people know that this is not financial advice. That totally makes sense. On board with that, right? And then I started sharing some of my numbers and some of the reasons why I thought this was really meaningful and could be used by other people. And a lot of the responses to that was, well, the market's so bad. This is pure speculation. Yeah, this works in Pokemon, but it doesn't work in Elestrals. It's just not comparable. You literally can't do it. And I proceeded to explain facts and figures, data that I had, which it's true. I had not shared them in my videos yet. That's a completely reasonable stance. And to say, I think you're lying or you're stretching the truth, you're not being honest with what you have to say, that is a completely reasonable argument. But to come and say, especially after multiple other store owners had chimed in, one of my big points was the month of May, I believe it was May, maybe it was June. I didn't look up the conversation, but one of and the current month had been the biggest sales numbers I had ever had in Elestrals. And that is a non-disputable fact. If people want, I'm happy to show sales data that backs that up. But I would say the months, and at this point, I can confirm it in July as well. And August is actually going even bigger than July was. The last 3.5 months have eclipsed my previous year of sales in Elestrals. I've mentioned several times that I have sold $40,000 worth of Elestrals cards. Now, some people are getting very confused at some of the numbers I'm throwing out, and that's reasonable, that's understandable. But if you read the text that I send with these messages, then you'll understand what I'm saying. When I started this channel, I had over $40,000 worth of sales at the time. I don't know the exact number. I might have said it in the video. I think it was like $43,000 or $44,000 worth of sales. That was data that I collected in June. Since then, I am over $50,000 in sales. The Elestrals market is at a point that it has never been in before. And despite me sharing information and other stores chiming in and saying, hey, our sales data matches this, this is true. Now, you could argue maybe it's just these 4 sellers. Maybe a big seller shut down, and the argument he was using was, well, it's just from the release of Sunstrike. But I believe it was June, because I had made a point of, well, that was a month ago. And at this point, it has continued. And just I guess, hard-headedness to say, okay, well, you're explaining your data, other people are backing it up. I don't think that's going to be true long term, but your point is valid. But that wasn't the case. The case was, no, this is dumb. You're speculating. This can't be accurate. There's no comparison. And when I have clear, hard evidence that I started with $10,000 of my own money into Elestrals. I have put some money back in, but pulled it back out over time. I have a personal investment of $10,000. And I would say very conservatively, I have somewhere around, I would conservatively, I would say over $40,000 worth of stock. So because of that, I will often say that I have made $30,000 in Elestrals. If I were to sell everything that I have at market price, that is how much I would have made. Now, if you listen to me historically, you'll know I don't agree with market price. I think market price is way under on a lot of cards, especially Shattered Stars cards, especially some of the serialized Stellars. I think, I even made a point that I think when Awakened comes out, some of these cards could go up. And especially with the data that it's been going up over the last few months, I think that's an even stronger case now. But the attitude was, hey, I don't care what your experiences are. I don't care what evidence you come forward with. You're just wrong because I'm right. The reaction that I had was, this person's just being negative. They're being toxic. And I did not respond well for that. Now, some of the conversation I definitely should have pared back on. But ultimately, I still think to this day, and I'm very confident, that that was just a level of toxicity that was, I don't think the market is doing well, so it's not. And coming in with no sales data for the last 3 months, just saying Elestrals is doing bad, it will always do bad. And if you think this key event where we're going to be releasing and potentially getting new people coming in is going to make you money, it wasn't I don't agree with you. It was, you're wrong. It won't. Everyone knows it won't work. And that mentality, that communication got to me. And that was an argument that I had. A different argument in that same Discord channel, was around pull rates. Somebody made a comment that master setting was harder once you got into Divine Champions, um, because they lowered the number of packs per box and because they went to 100% randomization, as opposed to seeding the boxes. Now, mathematically, you can go through it, and I won't do it here, but just mathematically, that's incorrect. It is easier to master set because the rates per pack, and this is not arguable, the per pack rate of pulling full arts, which is the hardest part of master setting. We are ignoring stellars here, but the per pack rate of getting full arts got better. And if the hardest things to pull, hollow rares are not as hard to pull. Full arts are the hardest part of the set outside of serialized stellars and reverse stellars. But again, we're ignoring those. Rates got better in Lifestream, in Firestorm, Lifestream, and Sunstrike. On a per pack cost basis, if you are opening cards to master set, it is easier to do that now in Divine Champions. And I made a comment responding and saying, like, mathematically, you're not right. And the conversation then turned to, well, it was harder for me to get all of the hollow rares that I wanted. And I made a comment that that's probably due to batching. Somebody else came in and said, you just don't understand randomization. A randomization system causes this to happen. I proceeded to explain how mathematically, if you are going to open 500 packs, the likelihood that you don't pull a specific hollow rare is better, or at least not as bad, when you're fully randomizing rather than seeding boxes. Because seeding boxes, for those, like I said, I'm an engineer. I understand how the randomization works. There is no such thing as randomization when you're dealing with machines. The machines can't understand randomization. They get a sheet of cards. It comes with one of or several of each card. There is the same number of every card that is being cut, and the way the computer has to figure out how to place packs. There is no such thing as true random because computers have to be programmed. They have to work in a state, and they are always basing off of patterns. Now, that said, humans kind of work the same way. When you randomize something, you're probably going to randomize it a similar way every single time, as opposed to, just like randomly coming up with stuff. Randomness, this is getting more into science than I really want to get into, but randomness does not cause you to miss cards. It makes it very difficult for you to miss cards. And the likelihood in Divine Champions that there is batching when someone can open 500 packs and not hit a hollow is extremely high. It is not guaranteed by any means, but when I have talked to 5 or 6 people who have said they've opened hundreds of packs and pulled one or less of a specific hollow rare, batching is probably the cause to that. So this person who's saying, I didn't pull an Ouroboros for a ton of packs, and therefore the switch to less packs in a box and also randomization is the reason why that happened. And I 100% agree. The less packs in the box definitely meant that that person had to buy more booster boxes in order to hit all the hollow rares that they want. Just mathematically, statistically, that makes sense. Obviously, there's variance, whatever, but the idea that them moving to a more randomized system where you could pull 10 hollow rares in a box, or 3 hollow rares in a box, or 3 full arts in a box, that does not cause you to get fewer hits. You could get unlucky. There's a higher chance that happens, but overall, pulling a specific, like, master setting is not affected. But yes, they are 100% correct that it does make it more likely, especially since there are less packs, that you get a specific hollow rare that you're looking for. I wasn't trying to argue that, and someone else came in and said something that was just statistically incorrect, and they were upset with me because I explained it to them, showed them how they could prove that their statement was wrong, and their response was still, well, but we don't care because I don't want to do that, and I just feel this thing, and you're just wrong. Now, someone else came in and corrected them later, and they were like, oh, okay, but our feelings are still valid. There was no response and said like, oh, hey, we got upset with you because you said we were wrong, but whatever, right? I'm not upset about that. That's not going to hurt my opinion of them. I still really like one of the people, even though it seems like they have a very negative opinion of me. I understand that. I'm not going to get hung up on that. If they ever reach out and ask to buy something or they want to haggle on something, it's not going to change my opinion of them, right? I do apologize if I gave anybody some kind of negative opinion in either of these interactions. I am upset with these people for saying something to other people that they did not research, did not understand, and when provided proper evidence, refused to change their opinions. But, in life, sometimes people just don't do the same things as you, and I'm okay with that. Um, I think ultimately those situations, though, other people saw other people getting upset and saying, hey, you're telling people they're wrong when they're not, you're being aggressive, whatever, and didn't see the fallout later of, okay, well, actually, Pandito was making a reasonable point, and those people were just refusing to listen to the evidence that was being provided. Again, I know that I came off in those situations potentially in a way that I wasn't trying to. Text is really hard to communicate to people with, but I think those conversations ultimately were what led to the disagreement that happened earlier today, which for you guys will be a week in the future, or in the past, I guess. But yeah, I just wanted to explain that, and I'll start by saying I sent a message last night with the intent of sharing that with the people who are in the marketplace and letting them know, hey, one of the key cards in the meta right now is about to run out of stock. As I mentioned in my Sunstrike video, opened 100 different starter decks that had Pandora's box in it. There had 2 copies of it. I had 200 copies of that. I noticed when I posted it originally that there were not very many copies of it. I believe I first posted it around like 90 cents. As stock started running out, I moved it up to $1.25, $1.50, and I finally set it on $1.66. I will be completely transparent here. I raised my price as my stock started getting lower. I, however, did not want to charge as much as I could have. And I'll show you this in a minute. But essentially, I wanted to tell everybody, hey, outside of my stock, which I only have 31 cards left, there's only, I think, maybe 7 cards sitting out on the marketplace on TCG Player under $3. And I wanted to let people know who either were resellers or who opened packs themselves, who just happen to have a whole bunch of them. Hey, you can go and post this at a really good price, make some decent money from it, and help the players in the community not have to have another $10 card. It sounds like there is a Pandora's box coming out in the OP packs here pretty soon. But I don't know how much of that's going to be actually sold, how much of it's actually going to be opened. OP packs normally don't affect the prices of other cards, right? They're an alternative art. People are going to pay $3, $4, $5 for them. But I can tell you now, if the base art version is $3, that OP version of Pandora's box is probably going to be $10+ for the cheaper version, if I had to guess, just because people need that card. There's literally been hundreds that have sold in the last few months, just from me. And I can't tell you how much has been sold outside of that, but it was essentially me trying to, offer, hey, guys, I think we need to do something about this. So the main crux of the conversation was, I think you're trying to manipulate the market. You're telling us this information so that you can hurt other people. The original statement when I asked, why do you think that, was you're telling every other seller to raise the price. I want to be clear. I am the cheapest price by almost double. There is nothing for me to gain from telling other people about this. It would actually be in my best interest if I didn't tell people in the marketplace, because most people who are on the marketplace constantly say TCG players' prices are inflated. No one should buy from there. So me saying anything at all is not going to push more buyers into TCG Player because they already think it's overpriced. And I guess you could argue, hey, this person's lying. He's saying that he only has 31, that he's selling it for $1.66, but he didn't have 200 cards before. He only had 40, and now he's trying to get $5 for every single one, or $3 for every single one. I'll make it very clear, and you'll see a week from now when this video comes out, I did not change my price of Pandora's box. $1.66 is the price that I don't think it should sell for more than that. Now, do I have any reason for that? Is there a reason why it shouldn't be $2 or $3 or $4? I actually kind of do. For what it's worth, if I charged $2 for this card, I would get $6 for that. But the way TCG Player shipping works, I would actually lose money on that sale. If I sell 3 copies at $1.66, I get to charge shipping and I get the value for that. So the buyer isn't just giving more money to TCG Player for free. With my current version of this, where I'm at right now, I make the most that I can without having to push my price up to probably $2.40. And that's a very big difference. If I charge $2.40, I would probably make 10 cents more for 3 cards than if I'm charging $1.66. Now, if people spend more than $5 with me, then they can get free shipping and they won't pay any more than that, right? But for the people who are ordering from me, which the vast majority of my orders have been exactly 3 copies of Pandora's box, not the vast majority. I would say probably around half have just been, here's exactly 3 Pandora's boxes that I want. That maths out in a way that I get the most value. The buyer doesn't have to pay more than that, and TCG Player isn't taking unnecessary value from both of us. So I would not make any more money unless I charged $2.40 on those sales, which are a very big number of the sales. So because of that, I don't want to go past that point. Now, at some point there are many cards that are worth more than that, but I think a staple rune that's used in almost every deck that is in starter decks shouldn't sell for more than that. I'm not looking to milk money out of people. I'm just trying to make sure that I get a reasonable amount for me opening my cards, my packs, but I don't want to swindle the other person. You could ask, well, why don't you sell them for $1 or for 90 cents then? Because a lot of the starter decks that I opened from Sunstrike, a lot of the cards that used to be playable aren't playable anymore. It's harder to sell them. And so I'm trying to get a reasonable amount of value out of what I opened while also still giving a reasonable price to the players. And I think that's a very fair middle ground in there. You may choose to disagree with that. I understand that. But I can tell you what I'm telling you is 100% true. You are welcome to disagree with it and just think, I'm overcharging for my Pandora's boxes, but there's not anyone charging less. And I will explain that. I'll walk you through exactly how I have the data that I have, and why I made the post that I made. So first of all, I'll show you here. Here are my 31 Pandora's boxes. This is everything I have left. I had 200 of these because I opened 100 Ares and Hephaestus starter decks. They're right here. I brought them upstairs. I can tell you that the message that I should have posted on screen, assuming future Dylan is doing his job correctly, you'll see that the post was edited. And that's because originally when I was typing it, I had 37 and I sold 6 of them while I was typing out the message. And so I sent it and I realized, oh, this isn't accurate anymore. And I took 6 of them off. Again, people can choose to believe that or not. I'm just trying to be completely transparent on, why things are out there, give the facts that I have, and share that. Now, the other thing I want to show is the fact that I did have that many Pandora's boxes and they have been selling like crazy. So you can see here, I'm on TCG Player. I have added a filter for the last 90 days. I have added a filter for only products that have Pandora in it, which I guess I could be more specific and put Pandora's box, but the search on TCG Player is just not very good. And you'll see the sales that I have here. Now, these are the orders, so you'll see the numbers jump around everywhere. A lot of people bought other things with them, but you can see here there were a total of, in the last 90 days, 33 sales, which I guess you can't see that on here just yet. Let me see if I can get that to pop up. And you can see here that I have 33 sales, which I know I had to edit there. Bad video maker. I didn't originally crop it correctly, but you can see here, these are still the same filters. We have the last 90 days. We have Pandora's box on here. So there were 33 total orders that were made with Pandora's box in them. And you can see in some of these orders here, I got orders of 6. I got orders of 5. I got orders of 9. I got orders of various amounts. There were many of these sold. Like I said, I sold about 2 to uh, 220 of these. Now, it wasn't all in Sunstrike. I had some Firestorm Pandora's box left over as well that I found in a box somewhere. But, it is. I have 31 left, and I know that I had at least 200 plus another, I don't know, like 10 or 20 from Firestorm. And these are the listings. This is mostly the same as it was last night when I was posting this. And you can see here is my listing right here on the Sunstrike starter decks. Here's the ones from the Imperial starter deck still sitting out here. But there are a total of 4 listings, 1, 2, 3, 4 on all of these. And if you look on the listing for Sunstrike, there is one other person who has them listed as well, but they only have 1 copy. So that is 5 total copies outside of my 31. And the next lowest listed price is the holo version from base set first edition. There isn't another copy under $3.50. So I came out here trying to explain in my message, hey, people should take a look at this. We should try to help protect the price so that it doesn't go up too much. And anyone who has this card just sitting around, go and put it on the market. Because if people don't, it's going to go up a lot in price. And the response to that after I gave that information, now I didn't link it, I didn't share it, was, oh, well, if you're telling the truth, that's okay. There wasn't oh, you're right, there is no real benefit. If you tell other people about this, you're just going to make more people put listings out there because you're telling the marketplace where people who buy aren't going to buy the TCG Player cards. You're just talking to sellers, and maybe you're thinking like, oh, well, I'm just trying to get them to raise the price. Then why wouldn't I raise my price of my Pandora's box? And why don't you wait to look for that instead of jumping out and saying, oh, this is just market manipulation? I understand that does happen, but especially for somebody who doesn't know me, somebody who has no context or no reason to think that I'm trying to manipulate the market other than he said some mean things to some people and he talks about money. Okay, that's your choice. I'm not going to hold this against this person. I'm not going to hold it against anybody else who says mean misinformation, toxic comments that just don't have evidence behind them. Literally taking 1 minute, 2 minutes to look up the price of Pandora's box and see mine are still listed at that price. Nothing is stopping anybody from buying them, and there's actually no other listings anywhere. There is almost no reason to read what I said and think, oh, he's trying to manipulate the market. And even if I had said something that could be interpreted that way, maybe just take a minute to ask the person instead of just assuming you're being a bad person and trying to hurt other people, because other people who don't know are going to read that and they're going to assume, oh, well, I agree with this guy. There's no evidence behind it. There's no information that actually says that that's happening. You're just hurting someone else. And I tell my 8-year-old this all the time. If you make a sad choice and you hurt someone else's feelings, the worst thing that you can do is double down on it and just say it's their fault that you got upset and made a comment that hurt their feelings. When you make a sad choice, the most important thing is the next choice. Are you going to make a good choice and apologize, or say like, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Let's not be rude to each other. And this is a week after the fact. I don't expect this person to read this, but hopefully or to listen to this. Hopefully other people here can hear this, kind of take the same road of just letting it go. It's not going to affect me long term, right? If anything, drama in this kind of space probably helps more than it hurts. I'm not looking to start drama. I'm just trying to explain to people my thoughts. Hopefully other people can relate. Hopefully people who are resellers can hear this and not be worried about being called out for being toxic just because they're trying to help other people keep a price low, or they charge $1.25 for something instead of $1 because it's scarce on the market. Hopefully people recognize like, hey, people who are selling want to not spend their time and also spend their money. They want to get a reasonable wage out of selling things in this space. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts here. I'm sure somebody's going to get pissed off about something that I said, but what do you do? You know, maybe that's content. Hopefully, for those of you guys who stuck around, you guys got something out of it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you today. Thanks for those who stuck around. I'm out.